Hi there, this is Jack. I'm doing this week's Tumblr Transits Saturday video about identity policing. Sorry I look really crappy in this lighting. Um, Let me try to get some better ones. Oops. There we go. Still shitty lighting, but whatever. So, on identity policing, that's kind of a tough subject, I think, because um, as a concept, identity policing is forcing another person to conform their identity to the standards of others, whether that's your standards or a book's standards or a group's standards, and it's basically saying that they're not part of this group or can't be part of this group because they aren't following these rules. On Tumblr, though, claiming identity police has kind of turned into a way to avoid having to answer questions if someone disagrees with your position. It's not even necessarily used in relation to identities now. It's really, people will be like, "You disagree with my opinion. By saying you disagree with me. That's identity policing," and that's not what it is. That's an excuse to say it's identity policing. However, uh, I guess one of the things that I've found helpful about it is to avoid identity questions when possible. Um, I assume that everyone will figure themselves out in the end, unless this is the next part, is unless someone specifically can benefit from your input on something related to their identity, then there is no need for you to give them that information. If you're just going to harm them more than help them, or confuse them more, or might push them in one direction or another to make a decision, then just stay out of it. It's not your place. If you disagree with someone's identity, instead of policing it, sorry, I keep rubbing my arms. I have fibromyalgia and my muscles are really upset right now. Instead of policing it or whatever, what you can do is you can acknowledge it, but not discuss it further than that. Like if someone says to me, "I identify as purple," and I clearly don't think that they are in the subgroup of purple, whatever purple is. Maybe it's the color purple, something like that. Purple people. Even if I clearly don't think that they belong in that group, I can still not invalidate that they believe they are in that group by saying, or I can still prevent invalidating their identity by saying, um, I acknowledge that you identify as purple. That way I'm acknowledging their statement, I'm letting them feel heard, and I'm letting them know I did hear them, but I'm not attacking them in any way. And I'm not making any attempt to change their opinion. The last thought I have for it is when it comes to people you believe are policing your own identity, pick your battles with who to fight with. Some people just are not going to agree, and it's not worth it to talk to them. Other times, it's just not worth it to waste your time talking to people, period, even if you could change their mind, because they're so inconsequential when you could be spending your time on other things, and this one person is not going to affect your life. It's and you have to figure out, obviously, on things like Tumblr, when people are just trolling and being offensive on purpose. So you have to pick your battles very carefully, see when you can actually make a difference and be helpful, like if you're standing up for yourself to a bully who's keeps using your incorrect name. If you're doing that, then obviously that has a direct benefit and is a good thing to do, and is related to your identity, and asserting it against someone who is telling you can't have a male identity. But if it's just something little, like someone disagreeing with you over one little aspect of your transition, then just let it go. Like unless it's a huge issue, just let it go. It's easier to let things roll off your back and not be stressed all the time. And then the other way to respond to identity policing is by being certain of your own identity. Be okay with yourself. Work on it. Work on being okay with as a trans man, as a transgender, as an FTM, as queer, as straight, as gay, as bi, as pan, intersex, as asexual, anything you are, you have to come to terms with that and be okay with yourself before, or else when other people choose to try to attack the foundation of your personality and your identity, you'll be shaken by it. You have to be sure enough to say, okay, you don't see me that way. Cool, moving on. It's taken me a long time to get to that place, and I still have a lot of struggles with it. But it makes things a lot easier because I don't feel like I have to have everyone like me or convince everyone of something or anything at all. Because as long as I know that I'm I'm following my own standards, then it doesn't matter if anyone else sees me as following their standards or not. Last thought on identity policing is be responsible for a label before you include it as part of your identity, which is not to say that anyone using something and then figuring out that they aren't part of that group and then taking it off. That's fine. You shouldn't yell at them or point them out or ostracize them. But what I'm saying is, before you add, for example, saying I identify as a communist, before knowing anything about communism or the Communist Party. Before doing any of that, you need to be responsible enough to not be choosing a label that you can't support for yourself. Be responsible about knowing what they mean before claiming it as a part of you. And that's all I got for today. If anyone has any questions, feel free to message me, and I'll see you guys next week.